So I made this channel because I want to just talk about some stuff that goes through my mind. I get a lot of moments throughout the day where I just find myself walking around my house and just talking about everything. I go on full blown rants, full blown. I put out like persuasive arguments that I'm like talking to the air, like as if I'm entertaining the ghosts or something. But I was like, you know what? Instead of just walking around saying nothing like that, maybe I would just record it and see if anybody, you know, would care for that. So today I want to talk about the new Spider-Man show, the new Spider-Man cartoon on Disney Plus, right? It's called like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man or something. This is going to be a short video. I just want to talk about the one main issue I have is that I saw some other YouTubers make comments on this too, where just Peter doesn't have much depth of character at all. And he seems very immature, right? My big issue is they've separated the Uncle Ben event from any like meaning for Peter, right? I think there's been a problem in recent Spider-Man media over the last like 10 years, ever since probably around the Amazing Spider-Man time, when the Amazing Spider-Man 1 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out. There was this mindset that everyone kind of group just widely accepted, where they're like, you know what, we've seen Uncle Ben die a million times. We don't need to see it again. Okay. And people were like, okay, you know what? Fair. And they stopped showing it. I don't think Uncle Ben's death was in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Unless I'm wrong about that. It certainly wasn't in the MCU movies. They just like vaguely reference Ben in the MCU, but like doesn't seem super important. There's only a couple moments between him and Aunt May where it actually seems like it matters to Peter, right? But they've taken that so far now where they think that that's still the standard almost, where they're like, we don't need to see Uncle Ben die. Everybody knows the story, right? The problem is that they've forgotten the story. Because in this new show, anyways, it opens with like, you know, Peter and May talking. She's taking him to school or whatever. And they talk a bit. And then Peter gets out, and there's like a giant fight with an alien. It looks like it's weird. It looks like a symbiote, like a Venom symbiote, but it's like on some weird alien body. It doesn't look like a normal, like Venom character, right? I don't know. Doctor Strange fights it, whatever. Out of this portal comes a spider, and the spider bites Peter, and Peter falls on the ground, and he goes like unconscious. Okay, right? So there's your spider bite, right? Also an important event for Spider-Man. But then it just cuts to him being Spider-Man. It's like months later, he's Spider-Man. There's nothing. They don't reference, they don't show anything, nothing. And the fact is that they reference Ben's death before the spider bite happens, which completely ruins the whole point of that event. That is the single most important event in Spider-Man's life, right? Because like Spider-Man was young when his parents died and stuff like that, so like Ben was really the one that really mattered to him, you know? But the thing is like Peter needs to have his powers prior to the Uncle Ben death in order for it to actually make sense, because he has, in that scenario, he has the ability to stop the person who's going to kill Uncle Ben, basically. But because he's upset, or he lets his emotions get in the way, he chooses not to do the right thing, and thus it inadvertently causes Uncle Ben's death. You know, which further cements what Uncle Ben's told him his entire life of, with great power comes great responsibility. And so it's that moment, and it's that moment of like regret where Peter's like, I chose to let that guy get away, basically, and he ended up killing Ben. You know, so now that's what instills this like true value for the phrase, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's where he gets that responsibility from, is that like he's like, there was a time in my life where I chose not to be responsible with my powers because of my emotions or how I felt. And I wanted to, you know, like this guy was mean to me or whatever, and I let the mugger get away, blah, 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 whatever, you know? And it's because of that the most important person in his life was lost, you know? So that's so important. So my issue is that we've gotten to the point where we're farther enough away from the last time we actually genuinely paid attention to the Uncle Ben death and it actually mattered in media through shows and television, shows and movies, to the point where they have this twisted idea of, oh yeah, we already know the story, we don't need to see it again, but they've actually forgotten the story, like I said. because now they're getting it wrong, and now it doesn't make sense. It's like, if Peter doesn't have his powers prior to Uncle Ben's death, then there's nothing he really could have done to stop that guy, and thus there's no regret about using his powers irresponsibly. And now he's just, you know, that shapes his morals for the future, and we don't have that in this new Spider-Man show. Peter is like the most flat character, I think. He's very MCU. He just seems like a copy paste of Tom Holland. I mean, take that for what you will. I'm not a huge Tom Holland Peter Parker fan, but you know, that's whatever. I just wanted to talk about the separation of the Uncle Ben event from the time when he gets his powers. Like, that should have predated Uncle Ben. And then further, like I said, even when we finally do see the spider bite, they just skip over everything else that matters. Like, you know, like, there's in other forms of Spider-Man, like, we see Spider-Man use his powers for money, like when he's wrestling and stuff like that, like just trying to gain money by using his powers, not using them, once again, responsibly, you know, and they just skip over all that. He's just like randomly a hero now for the sake of being a hero, and it's like, why? You know, you don't really know his motivation. Just like, what, is he just a good person? Like, this Peter Parker seems way too, like, clean to me. You know, he doesn't have like a lot of anxiety or insecurity, or he doesn't have that regret in his life from like what happened with Ben and stuff like that. He just seems really clean. He makes friends easy. It just seems like he immediately talks with Norman Osborn and gets a wonderful internship like day one. You know, it just seems like everything goes too easy for this Peter Parker, and because of that, he's such a flat character. There's no drama. I don't see any room for character development as the show's currently going. So I just wanted to talk about that because I think it's important that that Spider Bite event takes place before Uncle Ben's death. Otherwise, what's the point in having Spider-Man? So that's all I wanted to say. I'll talk about something next time.